Hey, what's up, everybody? Thank you for joining me today on Unaffiliated Sports Broadcasting. Okay, this is the second video here on the program of just a little hobby of mine that I'm trying to do. I want to remind everybody that I am not making any money off this. So this is literally just a hobby, something I wanted to do for fun. So today is Thursday, August 29th. So if you are into high school football sports, well, then you know what that means. That means JV underclassmen games are usually today. Some schools do them on Wednesdays too, but for the most part, they're usually on Thursdays between 3:30 and like 7-ish. Or I think the second games usually start around like 5-ish. Just kind of depends on the school in your area, but I highly recommend getting out there and supporting these young athletes. They deserve it. And by the way, that's the future, right? So you might as well get to know them and get to see some of them, go out there and support them if you have the availability to do so. I'll be at the Grantsville JV and Frosh game. That's freshmen, sophomores. That's where I'll be today. Probably riding solo. The wife's going to the Utes game here in Utah, so she's gonna go have a good time there, and I'm gonna have a good time at some high school football, watching the future, looking to see. I'm gonna hope to get some video. I'd like to really shout these kids out. So I don't know. It's gonna be a good time. So if you have the availability and the option to be able to go check these games out, I highly recommend it. It's a good time. All right, so as I described in the last video, okay, this one shouldn't be nearly as long by any means, but I want to highlight these schools, and I'm gonna stick to kind of the area in which I live right now, just because, one, I'm still trying to figure out this whole process, right? There's a lot of things I still want to figure out to be able to do this on a better level. So I think doing more than that right now is going to be pretty difficult for me, just being as it's just me right now. So so we're going to do the Tooele County matchup. That's what I'm going to call this, Tooele County matchup. I'm sorry. Had some coffee, and yeah, it's been a morning, so not too bad. But so we're just going to get into this. All right. So the Tooele County matchups. So game number one, you got 3A North Grantsville Cowboys, who are 1-1. At the 3A South Manti Templars, who are 2-0. That game is tomorrow at 7 p.m. So if you're in the area, go check it out. I think it's going to be a good time. I'll get into that in just a second. The second game we got is the 4A Region 10 Tooele Buffaloes, who are 1-1, versus the 4A Region 9 Pine View Panthers, who are also 1-1. That game is also tomorrow at 7 p.m. in Tooele. So if you're in the area, go check that game out. The third game we're going to talk about today is the 4A Region 10 Stansbury Stallions, who are 1-1, versus the 4A Region 11 Ridgeline Riverhawks, who are 2-0. That game is tomorrow, August 30th at 7 p.m. in Stansbury. So if you got the availability and the time, got nothing else going on, go check these kids out. Give these athletes a shout out, okay? So the first game we're going to get into is going to be, like I said, Grantsville Cowboys versus Manti Templars. I'm not going to get too much into depth on this because I did kind of do a preview on the last video. But for those who may not have seen that, let's kind of get into it. So Grantsville High School quarterback, or let's just do the quarterback comparisons, all right? So Grantsville High School, number one, Dallin Van Vliet, the sophomore quarterback, listed as 6'2", 190 pounds. He's 27 for 56 on the season for 313 yards and 4 total touchdowns. He also has 3 interceptions. He's also carried the ball for 19 carries for 46 yards. All right, now Manti's quarterback, number 11, Mason Starkweather, the senior, who's listed at 6'4", 180 pounds. He's 53 of 92 on the season for 726 yards, 9 total touchdowns, and 2 interceptions. He's carried the ball for 22 carries and 121 yards. Now, in terms of your running backs, this is where I think Grantsville kind of has the upper hand in terms of the running backs. Grantsville's season rushing stats are 369 yards and 2 total touchdowns, and of that, their leading rusher is number 32, Jaden Atkinson, the senior, listed at 5'9", 170 pounds, with 49 carries, 323 yards, and 2 touchdowns. He's doing pretty good. I think the last game kind of slowed him down a little bit, but I'm looking forward to seeing him bounce back in this, and I'll get into that in a second. The Manti Templars rushing stats on the season are 178 yards for 2 total touchdowns. But number 11, Mason Starkweather, the quarterback, he is their leading rusher for this team with 22 carries, 121 yards, and 1 touchdown. Now, receiving. Let's get into some receiving stats. Grantsville High School season receiving stats are 344 yards for 4 touchdowns. The leading receiver is number 5, Jackson Jensen, the junior. He's the wide receiver. His height was not listed, so if I had to guess, kind of like I did last time, he's probably close to 6 foot, probably 170 pounds at best. I'm just kidding, maybe 170 pounds. All right. He's got 10 receptions for 177 yards and 2 touchdowns. So pretty good start to the season for him. Same thing, kind of got slowed down in the last game, but look at the other video if you want to know more about that. For the Templars, their season receiving yards, are 806 yards and 10 total touchdowns. The leading receiver is number 5, Stone Mortensen, a junior, 5'11", 160 pounds, with 14 receptions and a whopping 334 yards and 4 touchdowns. In terms of defense, okay, so Grantsville High School Grantsville High School's defense has allowed 65 points, 409 passing yards, 409 rushing yards. They've got 5 sacks on the season, 11 tackles for loss, and 3 interceptions. So not bad in that category, in my opinion. Tackles for loss is a big one. I was tallying up some of the schools, and that's pretty good. So their leading tackler in terms of total tackles is number 28, Talon Butler, the senior. He's got 23 total tackles on the season, 5 tackles for loss, and 4 sacks. Shout out to him. That's a great stat line to have this early in the season. Good job, young man. For Manti's defense has allowed 71 points. They've allowed 509 passing yards and 230 rushing yards. Now, they've got 6 sacks on the season, 9 tackles for loss, and 5 interceptions. So again, not bad there. Both teams seem to be doing pretty good in that category, so that should be an interesting matchup. However, what I will say is the passing yards that Grantsville has given up could prove pretty problematic in this coming up game. I mean, listen, Starkweather's no joke, man. He's got 726 yards on the season, 9 touchdowns. I mean, he's throwing the ball, so the passing yards, and I know that they know this, right? Because they kind of got cooked a little bit last week, and so I'm sure there were some adjustments that needed to be made, that were made. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do, because Manti doesn't seem to rush the ball all that much, and maybe those yards from the quarterback are designed runs. I don't know. I'll have to wait till I see him play. But I really think it's just him scrambling out of the pocket when nothing's there. So I think Grantsville has the upper hand in the rushing game for sure, because both teams' defense seems to be able to let up some yards and some points, right? So I think Jaden's going to have a bounce back game today. I don't know if it's going to be enough to do it, because I don't know that Grantsville's going to be able to keep this passing attack at bay for the entire game. I'm sure they're going to have moments of good stuff, right? And so it's really going to be dependent on, last week the offense couldn't get going and the defense was struggling, right? So if we have a repeat of that, it's going to be an ugly game. But if the offense can get going, and I think if they get going with Jaden running the ball, I think they're going to be in an okay situation to at least make it a competitive game. Because you already know with 726 yards, you already know he's going to be passing the ball. All right, so obviously they'll probably try to switch some things up, right? But passing the ball is clearly their bread and butter, so I don't see that changing. They're going to throw some trick stuff in there, I'm sure, but I don't see that changing. So if Grantsville can get off to the right foot and rush the ball effectively, I think they stand a pretty decent chance in this game. I mean, Dallon's no joke either. He can throw the ball as long as, Jackson's having a great season, so I think they can be competitive. I don't think they can compete with the passing game. Manti seems to have that one in the bag. But if they can be successful passing and rushing the ball, I think they can compete in the game, and I think it can make for a really good game. So, again, if you're in the Manti area, tomorrow at 7 p.m., be sure to go check that game out. All right, some offensive notes before I get off of this one. Some offensive mishap notes. Grantsville High School has 2 fumbles, with 2 of them being lost. Obviously, 3 interceptions. Sacks allowed. They've allowed 3 sacks and 10 tackles for loss. So that's kind of a big stat line that I wanted to kind of highlight and look at. I mean, it's not big in the fact it's detrimental, but I think that plays a factor, right? Like the offensive line is going to really have to buckle down and protect this quarterback. In terms of Manti, they have 0 fumbles on the season, 2 interceptions, 0 sacks allowed, and 4 tackles for loss allowed. So their offensive line is holding up, I think, a little bit better. Or maybe it's just different play design. I'm not sure, but Grantsville's line is definitely going to have to step it up and really protect their quarterback, because both teams are pretty neck and neck with tackles for loss, interceptions, and sacks. So both defenses have kind of got after it a little bit, and the line's really going to have to protect that one. All right, so the second game we're going to get into, I'm sorry, I moved my notes. The Tooele Buffaloes versus the Pine View Panthers tomorrow at 7 p.m. in Tooele, Utah. All right, so if you're there around, go check it out. Let's get into the quarterback comparisons for these two teams. Again, their seasons, they're both 1-1 on the season. That's what I was trying to remember. Sorry, guys. All right, so quarterback comparison. Tooele High School, number 9, Gus Pater. I believe I said that right. The sophomore, who's listed at 6 foot 2 inches, 155 pounds. He is not having a very impressive season, in my opinion, but he's sitting at 3 completions for 13 attempts for 79 yards, 1 touchdown, and 2 interceptions. He's got 9 carries and 21 yards and 2 touchdowns. The Pine View, did I say that right? Yep, Pine View quarterback, number 13, Levi Shaw, the junior, 5 foot 11 inches, 185 pounds. He's 44 for 82 on the season, 624 yards, 7 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions. 5 carries for 7 yards and 1 touchdown. That boy's throwing the ball. He ain't trying to run it. All right, now here's where the difference kind of makes up for the rushing comparisons. Tooele High School season, they have 621 rushing yards and 6 total touchdowns. The leading rusher is number 13, Von Gritzmaker. I hope I said that. Gritzmacher or Gritzmaker. Apologize if I said that wrong. The senior, who's listed at 5 foot 9 inches, 170 pounds. He's got 19 carries on the season for 284 yards and 3 touchdowns. Now, quick side note, Tooele High School had 3 running backs, or at least rushers, with over 100 yards on the season so far. So they're running the ball. That's why that quarterback stat line's not there. They're running the ball. They're doing pretty dang good at it. So Pine View's rushing stats for the season are 222 yards and 2 touchdowns. Their leading rusher is number 8, Kyle Richardson, the sophomore, 5 foot 9 inches, 175 pounds as well. He's got 41 carries for 202 yards. Now, in the receiving spectrum, obviously for Tooele High School, it's not going to be that spectacular, but their season's passing stats are 79 yards and 1 touchdown. Their leading receiver is number 10, Nicholas Arellano. Arellano. Again, apologies if I messed it up. The senior, 5 foot 11, 155 pounds. He's got 1 reception for 50 yards and a touchdown. Talk about making most of your opportunities. Good job, young man. Pine View High School, the season stats are 624 receiving yards, 7 touchdowns. I'm going to mess this name up. And their leading receiver is number 11, Maka Fiafia. I hope I said that right. Senior, no height listed for him, but he's got 10 receptions for 191 yards and 1 touchdown. The defensive comparison for these two schools, Tooele High School has allowed 51 points. They only had 1 game of stats up. The other team that they played didn't put any stats up. So I could only make this comparison off of 1 game for Tooele High School. But in that 1 game, they allowed 122 passing yards and 46 rushing yards. On the season, they've got 1 sack, 5 tackles for loss, and 4 interceptions. Their leading tackler in terms of total tackles is number 22, Cameron Barrett, the senior, with 24 total tackles and 1 tackle for loss. Now, in terms of Pine View High School, their defensive stats, they've allowed 78 points, 706 passing yards. So this would be a game if that quarterback, Gus Pater, did I say? Oh, it's on the back side of this one. See, I got to get better with my notes too. Yeah, Gus Pater, number 9. Hey, if he can throw the ball pretty well, I think this is a team he's going to have some opportunities to do that with. Anyways, Pineview High School, points allowed 78, passing yards allowed 706, rushing yards allowed 317, 1 sack on the season, 6 tackles for loss, and 1 interception. Their leading tackler in terms of total tackles is number 41, Carson Curtis, a senior, with 15 total tackles, 2 tackle for loss. So again, I think let's get into the offensive mishaps. Sorry. Offensive mishaps. Tooele High School, they've had 4 fumbles. 2 of them have been recovered by the defense. They've had 2 interceptions. Per the 1 game of stats, they didn't allow any sacks, but they did allow 9 total tackles for loss. So there's definitely pressure getting back there. Or they just were trying they run the ball a lot. So I guess that's going to add to that, right? Pineview High School, their offensive mishaps, they've had 2 fumbles, both going to the defense, 2 interceptions. They've allowed 1 sack and 2 tackles for loss. So they seem to be doing a little bit better about getting that initial push. But look, I mean, Tooele is obviously killing it with the running game. That's obviously where their bread and butter is. But I truly feel like if they really want to stand out, I don't know much about Gus Pater. I'm gonna have to try to catch one of those games, but I'll miss my son's game if I do that. So I probably won't. I'll try to see some video at a minimum. But listen, if he could throw the ball, I think this is a game. This is a game that he's gonna have an opportunity to get some passes. They've allowed 706 passing yards against them, so teams are able to pass against them. And maybe that's kudos to the quality of the quarterbacks of those other teams. But either way, they've let up some passing yards. This might be an opportunity for him to really showcase what he can do, if he can do it. Don't put your team in a bad position type thing, but if you can do it, you should do it. And I guess he's not the one calling the play, so it's kind of on the coordinator, I guess, there. But, yeah, should be a fun matchup. Pineview is, if I'm not mistaken, they're down in St. George. Is that the team that's in St. George? Yeah. I'm pretty sure they're down around St. George, so that's quite a drive for them to come up here. So, hey, they might have them on the ropes. They might have them on the ropes right out the gate. So, should be a good game. Again, that game will be tomorrow at 7 p.m. in Tooele, Utah, if you're interested in going to that. All right, into the last matchup for the day. We've got the Stansbury Stallions versus the Ridgeline Riverhawks. Stansbury's 1-1 on the season. Ridgeline is 2-0 on the season. All right, that game is tomorrow at 7 p.m. All right, in Stansbury. So if you have the chance, go check them out. Go support these young athletes. All right. Let's see. Quarterback comparisons for Stansbury. Starting with Stansbury, I should say. Number 4, Coleman Dearden, the senior, listed as 6 foot 1 inch, 185 pounds. He's 15 for 33 on the season with 194 yards, 0 touchdowns though, and 1 interception. He's got 16 carries for 64 yards and 1 touchdown. Now for the Ridgeline, number 8, Nate Daly, the junior, 6 foot 170 pounds. He's 29 for 50 on the season with 347 yards, 4 touchdowns, and 1 interception. He's got 6 carries for 33 yards and 1 touchdown. All right, so pretty good comparison there. I mean, obviously Ridgeline takes it with the yardage and definitely the touchdowns. So let's keep going. The rushing stats for Stansbury, they've got a season rushing numbers are 226 yards for 2 total touchdowns. Their leading rusher is number 2, Tyson Ferry, a senior running back, 5 foot 8 inches, 180 pounds, with 26 carries and 88 yards. Ridgeline's season rushing stats are 338 yards, 4 touchdowns. Their leading rusher is number 23, J.T. White, a senior, listed at 5'10", 180 pounds, 36 carries for 240 yards and 3 touchdowns. Not too shabby, young man. Good job. Receiving stats for Stansbury High School. On the season, they're at 196 yards and 0 touchdowns. Their leading receiver is number 1, Luke Rich, a senior, listed at 6 foot 1 inch, 195 pounds, 8 receptions, and 77 yards. Ridgeline's season, they're at 347 yards, 4 touchdowns. Their leading receiver is number 11, Graham Livingston, a junior, listed at 5 foot 10 inches, 177 pounds. He's got 14 receptions and 207 yards and 1 touchdown. Gee, I wonder who they're going to the most. But I mean, they've also got another, 140? So 130, 140 yards to other receivers. So, but clearly he's taking up a good chunk of that. That's the receiving stats. Let's get into the defense. Stansbury's defense has allowed 33 points, 464 passing yards. Excuse me, I apologize. 464 passing yards, 211 rushing yards. They've got 2 sacks on the season, 0 tackles for loss, and 1 interception. Their leading total tackler is number 9 Bronx Baker, a sophomore, listed at 6 foot 1 inch, 213 pounds. He's got 17 total tackles and 1 sack on the season. Ridgeline has allowed 28 points this season, 450 passing yards, 144 rushing yards, and by the way, 136 of those were in the last game. I found that to be interesting. So their first game, they didn't let up almost anything. They probably where they got most of their passing yards. I should have looked at that. But 136 rushing yards in the last game. So I don't know if maybe somebody got hurt, key component, and it's affecting them, or if the other team that they played was just that good. I'm not really sure. Now, they've got 7 sacks on the season, 15.5 tackles for loss. They're really getting it, and 3 interceptions. So that defense is really coming, I think. Stansbury's really going to have to protect that young man because they're coming. They're coming. Their leading tackler is number 18, Landon Perkins, a junior, 6 foot 1 inch, 185 pounds. He's got 18 total tackles, 4.5 tackles for loss, and 2 sacks. The offensive mishaps. Stansbury has 0 fumbles on the season, 1 interception, but they've allowed, and 3 sacks allowed. Meanwhile, Ridgeline High School also has 0 fumbles on the season, 1 interception. They only had stats for 1 game, by the way, for these 2 categories. So 0 sacks so far and 5 tackles for loss allowed. So there may be more than that, but the stats weren't up there. Yeah, Stansbury's really got a chance, I think, to showcase some things if they can get it. I think they're in a similar boat to Grantsville. They're going to have a good passing attack and a good rushing attack, and it's going to have to work together because I don't think they're going to beat this team. I don't think they're going to beat Ridgeline by just being dominant in one category. They're going to have to mesh the 2 and be successful in the 2, I think, in order to win this game. Because the defense, like I said, they're coming. What did I say? 14.5 tackles for loss? 15.5, excuse me. And then 7 sacks. So they're really getting to these quarterbacks. But they've given up a lot of passing yards as well. So, I mean, I guess not a lot, but a fair amount, right? They've given up some pretty decent passing yards. So it'd be really interesting to see what they do there. Stansbury's defense has done pretty good as well. They've given up less passing yards, more points, and more rushing yards, but they're getting it too, right? So, I think the big difference is the quarterback play right now. Daly seems to be a little bit more efficient. 29 for 50 versus Dearden's 15 for 33 for Stansbury. So 347 yards and 4 touchdowns. That's definitely helping them. So, in terms of Stansbury, I think defensively they'll be able to probably keep them at bay. So if they can get their passing attack and their rushing game moderately working well, I think they stand a pretty good chance. And they could easily. I'm not going to say easily. I don't want to say easily. That makes it sound like Ridgeline's a bunch of pushovers, and I don't think that they are. But I think they could get the W if they do it. Definitely see that. So that is your Tooele County matchups. Again, I am excited to be able to catch a JV game. Last week I went and watched Tooele's JV team because my cousin's son plays on that team, and boy, do they got a lot of work to do on that squad. But hey, I mean, that's kind of the point of it, right? So it's interesting to see the biggest takeaway from the Tooele one. You know what? Since I'm talking about it, I'm gonna go ahead and talk about it. So we went and watched my cousin's kid play last week against who the heck were they? I can't even remember who they were playing. I should have wrote it down. I'm sorry. The biggest takeaway I have from that is ball security. Holy smokes, the way these kids were carrying that ball, it's no wonder that they fumbled as much as they did. And this is the JV squad, by the way. I haven't seen the varsity play. And I probably won't because I'll miss my own sons, and I'm not willing to do that. But the JV squad for Tooele, they need some love, man. They need some love. They need some work. They need some work. They got manhandled, and again, ball security was the biggest thing that I saw. Like, they would have some good breakaway runs, and it'd be ruined by some fumble because they're holding the ball out far, not tight to their body, or they're carrying it like they're still going to throw even though they're 15 yards past the line of scrimmage. So ball security for sure is what I'd say that they need the biggest work on, because they were shooting themselves in the foot. As soon as they started getting some momentum, they fumbled the ball. So excuse me. That's my takeaway from the Tooele JV game. But I'm excited to be able to see Grantsville play today. Manti is kind of one of them schools for them that I think there's a little bit of beef there, So I'm not talking about steak, all right? No, so it should be a good game. I mean, as much as it sucks driving to all of these schools, it's actually kind of my favorite part of the year. Like, I actually kind of like it, getting out and just driving, having a good excuse to leave work early. Not that I really need one, but so it's pretty fun. I am looking forward to it because I got a nephew who plays in Stansbury, so I'm gonna try to catch. I think next week I'll try to catch the Stansbury JV squad. Check them out, because I'm all about seeing these young. Like, I love watching the older kids too. Don't get me wrong, but I really like seeing the younger kids play, getting to see what they do and watch them as they develop when they get to that senior year, that junior year, when they're playing varsity primarily. You get to kind of see the development, and it's really awesome. So, first of all, kudos to all the coaches out there, because we wouldn't be able to see that kind of progress if you guys weren't getting it to them like that. So kudos to you guys. Even though we heckle from the stands, sometimes we're flabbergasted and bamboozled by some of the calls that maybe you make. Hey, at the end of the day, thank you for doing what you do, because you're making a difference in these kids' lives. So again, that's the show. I will be at the Grantsville High School versus Manti at Grantsville JV game today. I think it's at 3:30, maybe 4. I can't remember exactly. I'll probably be there by 3:30-ish. So if you're around, you want to come say hello, please by all means do so. And I look forward to getting some highlights out there of these young athletes, and talking about that JV game, which I don't know when I'm going to get that video. It might just be part of my recap from Friday's game that I'll put out probably on Sunday. That's probably going to be the best time frame for me to do it. So that'll be the recap, and I'm going to try to put these out. I wanted to do this yesterday, and I totally spaced it. Didn't get things worked up right away. So I'll try to have these out before the JV games start, and let's see it. So, hey, thank you for joining me on Unaffiliated Sports Broadcasting. Please check out the YouTube channel. Subscribe to it so we can get those 50 followers so I can start broadcasting live from the games. Also, I only have an Instagram for this because I don't want to spend my entire life on this, okay? Well, I mean, unless it really starts paying off, you know what I mean? But right now, I don't want to spend my entire life on it. So I do have an Instagram to kind of put the stuff out there, but outside of that, you won't find it on any other socials. So please like the Instagram page if you're watching on YouTube, and if you see this on Instagram, please go over to YouTube, like the channel there as well, subscribe to it, okay? If you have any questions, feel free to comment on anything, and I'll do my best to get back to you guys. Other than that, good luck to all 6 of these these teams. Good luck to Grantsville, good luck to Manti, good luck to Tooele, good luck to Pineview, and good luck to Stansbury, and good luck to Ridgeline. Obviously, I'm a little biased. Good luck to Grantsville, go kick butt. Good luck to Tooele. That's where I went to school, so I'm really biased. Not that I really care all that much. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not a diehard, alumni fan, but those exist, by the way. If you didn't know, it's a great time. You should really go to the meetings. But Stansbury, I don't really like Stansbury. That's where all the arrogant people were. No, I'm just kidding. No, that was kind of the slang though back when we were in school. But no, seriously, good luck to Stansbury. Hopefully they can turn some things around. It looked like they've been struggling a little bit. So good luck to them, and good luck to all 3 schools in Tooele County. Hopefully the next report will be that you guys are all 2-1. So other than that, hey, have a great day, guys. Get out there, support these young athletes. Go watch some games, and I don't know, just be better. Be better all around. Support people. It doesn't hurt. It makes you feel good too. It's like exercising, but less effort. All right, talk to you guys later.